Hello, I'm Andy Belling, and this is the Center for Spiritual Living, and it's the real kind of a Sunday, so here comes the Sunday. Or maybe it doesn't. That's it. Here comes the sun, do-do-do-do. Here comes the sun, and I say, it's all right. Little darling, it's been a long, cold, lonely winter. Little darling, it seems like years since it's been here. Here comes the sun. Do-do-do-do. Here comes the sun, and I say, it's all right. Little darling, the smile's returning to the faces. Little darling, it feels like years since it's been here. Here comes the sun, do-do-do-do. Here comes the sun, and I say, well, it's all right. Sun, 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 here it comes. Sun, 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 here it comes. Little darling, I feel that ice is slowly melting. Little darling, it seems that years, since it's been clear. Here comes the sun, do-do-do-do. Here comes the sun, and I say, well, it's all right. It's all right.
Well, it certainly is all right. Good morning, Andy Belling.
Good morning, Keith.
How are you today?
I'm good. I'm actually good.
I can tell.
I was feeling blue, but I'm not really blue. Okay.
Well, you were very blue earlier when I spoke to you, but now you have a multicolored tie on, which diminishes your blue and brings out the sun in you.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. What a joy and pleasure it is to have you back with us at the Center for Spiritual Living, Los Angeles.
Thank you. It's lovely to be back here and say hi to everybody.
Right. Well, I'm on behalf of everyone, we're saying hi to you. It's been a journey to get you back here. And before we knew it, COVID had hit last time, and it's been a long 2-year journey. And so I know that you're celebrated and loved here, both from myself and our community. And so it's just a real joy to have you bring your presence of light back with us today and sharing your talent and sharing your gifts and sharing your music.
Thank you. It's great to be back. Thank you very much for inviting me back, Keith.
You're very welcome. And so let's all saddle up and let's do our service and connect to it. So I know you'll be back in just a bit to take us on the journey of the song for our ritual, and then you've got wonderful music planned for us throughout the morning. So on behalf of everyone, welcome back, and I'll see you in a bit.
Okay.
Great. Thank you, Andy. Good morning, everyone. I'm Reverend Dr. Keith Cox. I'm the spiritual leader here at the Center for Spiritual Living, Los Angeles. Welcome to our virtual Sunday service. Today, I'm calling this a community gathering for peace. And I would like for us to focus today on the power and the presence of the divine that exists within each and every one of us, and the role that we play through the co-creative process of bringing peace into our own world, which really indeed is the world. And so I'm going to do our ritual first this morning so that we can anchor ourselves into this awareness of peace, a quality of the divine that exists within each and every one of us, and set the stage for our time together. And so I invite you to just relax and open up. And so we are the Center for Spiritual Living, Los Angeles. Our vision statement is supporting individuals finding their personal self-empowerment through a spiritual awakening. I invite each of us to take a deep breath in right now and feel the power of the Spirit that's within us. And as we exhale, let that be an awakening and a sense of personal self-empowerment. And know that that's true for all beings. As we move into our morning ritual called Calling in the Light, we're lighting a virtual candle on the screen. This candle, which is representative of the light of the divine that exists within all, we'll acknowledge this throughout this ritual for all beings. You'll notice in our slides this morning during our ritual, there are the colors of Ukraine. The art that you'll see in the background is from a colleague of mine, Reverend Bob Luckin. And I know as a metaphysician, he infuses all of his art with the foundations and the teachings of the science of mind and related new thought, philosophies, faiths, and way of life, which means that we are one. And so today we perform this ceremony called Calling in the Light to promote the universal consciousness of life, which acknowledges that all peoples and all faiths, all sentient beings come from the one great universal presence which we call Spirit. The purpose of this ritual each time that we do it, and specifically today, is to draw into our gathering this morning a more conscious awareness of our oneness and the oneness of life, and the qualities that we each possess as complete expressions of the divine. And so as we feel the vibrations shift during this experience, may we become ever more aware of the light of life, which exists in and as all expressions of life, which includes you and me. The quality of the divine that we use today in our ritual is peace. Let's use this acronym for the word peace that I've created during this ritual to create an opportunity for each of us to embrace our light in a more expansive way. Peace. P-E-A-C-E. Purposeful energy activates conscious evolution. Peace. The P standing for purposeful. Purposeful is defined as having or showing determination or resolve. May we each live our spiritual awakening with resolve and consciously be aware of our playing a role in the co-creation of our lives through our mental and emotional actions. E stands for energy. In the book, The Science of Mind, Dr. Holmes defines energy as a divine and unfailing attribute, and consequently, there's never any lack of it. So today, may we each commit to using our energy in productive and life-enhancing ways. A. A stands for activates, which is defined as the action or process of making something active or operative. Today, may we each consciously make active our thoughts, actions, reactions, and interactions in and as life, reflecting the innate peace that is within all beings. C stands for conscious. Synonyms for the word conscious are awake, aware, alert, responsive, sentient. In this moment, may we each tune into our ability to be aware and commit to living our life awake and alert to our ability to impact the world and to consciously invoke peace, this purposeful energy which is activated through conscious evolution, with each thought and with each action. The last letter, E, is for evolution. Dr. Holmes defines evolution as the passing of spirit into form. Traditionally, it's defined as a process of gradual, peaceful, progressive change or development. And so today, I affirm for all, as a result of our finding our personal self-empowerment through a spiritual awakening, progressive changes and developments begin manifesting in and as spirit takes form in our lives, ultimately the lives of others, because what we know and know that we know, that there's really only one life, and we are one family. And so bringing back into the mind, our awareness of the illuminated candle that was on the screen, we lean in and individually add our flame to it, calling it the healing candle. And I ask each of you to take a moment and to think of anyone in your own personal life that is in need of healing, but to intentionally and purposefully bring forth into our mind's eye any images or people or those that we know are in peril and need on our planet today, specifically in Ukraine. And then we know together that we indeed are one family. I have this prayer for protection for us today, and when I reference the light of God, let's remember that this light of God is for each and every individual and expression. And so I invite you to affirm it with me in the privacy of your own home, knowing that when we say me, we're speaking of all beings, the prayer for protection. And to remember that the God we speak of is an infinite, impersonal, all-pervasive, universal power. Here we go. The light of God surrounds me. The love of God enfolds me. The power of God protects me. The presence of God watches over me. The mind of God guides me. For the life of God flows through me. And the laws of God direct me. As the power of God abides within me, the joy of God uplifts me. For the strength of God renews me, and the beauty of God inspires me. For wherever I am, God is. And so as we affirm this prayer to be true for each and every one of us, we know that our words have power. And so we use them in singing our song, Let There Be Peace on Earth. The lyrics will be on the screen, and Andy shall come on the screen and take us through our song.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant with God as creator. United all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my solemn vow, to take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
And so it is. Thank you, Andy. How wonderful to have you with us today, Andy.
It's great. It's great to be here. Thank you.
Good, good. So we'll see you in just a moment when you're going to sing another song for us.
Yep.
Yes. And so as we've set the tone for our time together to become aware of who we are as divine beings and the role that we play in expressing our divinity, I want to remind you that as a community, the Center for Spiritual Living Los Angeles, we welcome all, welcome one, and we welcome all. We're a community that primarily focuses on the teachings of the science of mind. Dr. Ernest Holmes' guidebook, if you will, Philosophy, Faith, and Way of Life, for those that desire to be empowered in life in a way that they want to use the power that they have within them, this impersonal, creative, infinite, universal power to impact the world. I know for each of you that you're drawn into this way of life because you're not absolved of the responsibility. You have responsibility to use your life, to use your mind, to use your ability to act, think, react, and interact with life itself in a way to impact and create good, not for just for yourself, but for all of humanity. And so today, we open ourselves up to a new way of being as we see horror taking place on our planet. We can hear Andy in the background tuning up his piano, which goes to show us that he's ready to share his next song with us to further us on this journey of opening our mind. Andy, feel free to come back on the screen.
I'm here.
And what song are you going to sing for us next?
Well, since today is all about spring, I thought I'd say that it isn't spring.
Okay. Well, take us away then on the it's not as opposed to what it is.
Okay. Hang on one second. I'm as restless as a willow in the windstorm. I'm as jumpy as a puppet on a string. I'd say that I have spring fever, but I know it isn't spring. I'm as starry-eyed and gravely discontented, like a nightingale without a song to sing. Why should I have spring fever when it isn't even spring? I keep wishing I was somewhere else, walking down a strange new street, hearing words I've never ever heard from someone I've yet to meet. I'm as busy as a spider spinning daydreams. I'm as giddy as a baby on a swing. But I haven't seen a crocus or a rosebud or a bluebird on the wing. Yet I feel so gay in a melancholy way that it might as well be spring. It might as well be, might as well be spring.
What a fabulous song, Andy.
Thank you.
I haven't seen a crocus
Or a rosebud.
or a rosebud. But spring is there, even though it's not yet spring, right?
Right.
As we know, it's always there. Yep. What a beautiful, fun song.
Thank you.
And you did it most beautifully. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes, and we'll see you after the message. So as Andy referenced, the theme of spring, we're kicking off a new month, and we are kicking off a new theme. And the theme for this month, excuse me, I just put chapstick on, the month of March is spring forward, fall back, live in the now. I wanted us to begin to look at this concept of springing forward and falling back in regards to playing around with time initially, but then the week has unfolded in the way that it has relative to worldly events. And as Spirit would have it, I feel that it's most appropriate, given these events of the world, and I'm sure that's true for me as it is for you, to really begin to draw into our awareness not just the concept of spring or fall and what's happening around the world, but living in the now. I'm sure that what is unfolding in the world, or not sure, but I'm sure that it's possible for each one of us that what has been unfolding can bring up memories of things in the past, potential traumas, and potentially can have us worrying about what the future could be. And we also may just simply be subject to the chaos and the malaise of just simply the energy that's unfolding in the world, the moment. But I want us to really look at this theme of spring forward, fall back, live in the now, with the focus being today, living in the now, living in the moment, and look at it from the perspective of, as we become more and more tuned into the spiritual truth that our thoughts create our reality, that we play a vital role in the co-creative process of the experience that we have in the world, to then ask ourselves, why is it important to live in the now? Why is it important to anchor ourselves into the current moment? Well, there are many reasons for that, and I'm going to go over several of them in just a moment, but the primary reason I believe for that is because that's where we tap into Source, or God, or the thing itself. That's where the power is, really. Dr. Ernest Holmes tells us this in this quote: to realize that God, the thing itself, the source, whatever term you want to use for this infinite, universal, co-creative power of us, is ever present, ever available. And to know that all the wisdom, let me back up and just start this quote again. To realize that God is ever present, ever available, is to know that all the wisdom, intelligence, and power of the universe is right where you are. Let's hear that again. To realize, in other words, to accept and have the awareness of that this power, God, it's ever present, it's ever available, is to then know that all of its qualities, its wisdom, its intelligence, and its power, the power of the universe, is right where you are in that moment that you have the realization. Let's take that in and let that be the foundation, the guidepost of how we move forward in life, and certainly as we perceive and participate in life as it's unfolding around us. For the truth is, it's only unfolding through us. Let's remember that there is deep within us the knowledge, the wisdom, to know and know that we know that the law of life is responding to us at all times, no matter what. It's responding to how we are thinking, being, feeling, and expressing. Holmes goes on to also tell us that all law must be subjective to the soul, and it knows how, this law knows how to take a seed and make a plant from it. It doesn't know whether it's making a tomato or a potato. It just simply knows to create without knowing what it creates. So when you and I choose to be peace, purposeful energy activating conscious evolution, we are planting a seed of intention into the law of life, and it responds, as we've been told before, by corresponding to the state of mind. Now, this is something that can be very difficult to do in today's world as we see images and know what's unfolding on our planet, and the sadness and the sorrow and the degradation and the death and the unrealness to it all is very hard to comprehend, and yet you and I have the ability to both comprehend it and to be compassionate for it and to know and to speak truth. And to do that from the present moment, because that's really the only moment that we have. Eckhart Tolle tells us that most humans are never fully present in the now, because unconsciously they believe that the next moment must be more important than this one. But then you miss your whole life, which is never not now. Living in the now as an awakened being that is tuned into their personal self-empowerment, knowing that they have the ability to be co-creative, which already implies potentially moving into the future. How do we stay in the present moment? Is this easy to do? Sometimes it is, and sometimes it's not. But our role on our journey of finding personal self-empowerment through a spiritual awakening is for it to happen more often than not, to become better at it, if you will. Well, how do we do that? Well, the same way that you get to Carnegie Hall, and we all know that, is through practice, practice, and practice. The practice I'm speaking of in this moment is what's called a spiritual practice. A spiritual practice or a spiritual discipline, often including spiritual exercises, is the regular or full-time performance of actions and activities undertaken for the purpose of inducing spiritual experiences and cultivating spiritual development. Establishing a daily spiritual practice helps to reinforce our awareness of spirit, God, the universe, whatever you choose to call it, in our day-to-day, moment-by-moment lives. These practices facilitate a purposeful, conscious reconnection with the truth of our being, our infinite divine nature, the essence of our being. Over this last week, and really last few days of turning on the television and then turning it off, remembering that part of our homework from class this week was to not pay attention to that, and yet it's important to tune in enough to know what's going on, I would stop and ask myself, in this moment, am I willing to know truth? Am I willing to speak truth? Am I willing to do spiritual mind treatment and affirm truth? And there were moments when that unfolded and unfurled quite easily. And then there were moments it was not so easy. And the moments that it was not so easy, I would ask myself, do I believe that there are others on this planet right now that are doing that? And if so, am I willing to surrender my ego in this moment and allow truth that's being spoken to be in the resonance field of me to help me then rise up and change my state of awareness? And the answer was yes. And so I invite all of us to do that starting today through the remembrance that no matter what, we're always using the law of life. And it is responding by corresponding whether we're doing it intentionally or not. To ask ourselves, what idea of the divine are we practicing? And are we fine-tuning our awareness of life on a consistent spiritual practical basis, if you will, ultimately bringing into our awareness the power that exists in the now? Dr. Holmes tells us in the article from A New Design for Living, themed, "The Time is Now," this: the only time we will ever have is now, the immediate moment. The question that naturally arises then is, how wisely are we using it? Are we retreating into the memory of the past, daydreaming into the future? We do not want to encumber this eternal moment of ours with vague dreams of tomorrow, nor clutter it up with refuse from the past. We can neither live in the past nor the future, but the thoughts of the past and the future can color and contaminate our emotional and mental outlook, that our reaction to this moment, each moment we have, will be a thing of despair rather than of joy. If we should have an unlimited mental acceptance for all good things for ourselves, Is not this very act of acceptance a direction for the law of mind to produce more moments like this one? And would not such an acceptance have to be one that affirmed that we, right now, possess the desired good, not tomorrow, not the next day, for they never come. For they never come. When there is such an acceptance of good, it must be on the basis of believe that you have now. Now that might be easier for us to do if we're thinking of money or health or well-being. But can we own that as a reality of peace in a world where the appearance of the opposite exists? I certainly know that that's challenging and difficult for each of us, and yet what we're called to do as practicing metaphysicians is to know that the peace that we're speaking of is not necessarily that in the human form. It's calling forth the quality of the divine, to which peace is one of, along with beauty and joy and light and life and love and wisdom. That it makes itself known, and as it makes itself known at a higher vibrational frequency, as it is emitted from all who tune into that, it must return in form. That's a very basic foundational principle of the teaching of the science of mind. It has not been diminished based on circumstances or conditions or acts of others. And yet, for it to be made manifest in a great way, we're called to a higher and higher and higher framework around it. Holmes goes on to say in this article, this does not mean that every moment of our lives would be filled with complete happiness, with everything that the heart can desire, or watching things on television that are contrary to peace. However, we should learn to take from each moment only the joy, the lesson, the good that is in it. If we each were to turn on the television right now, or read a newspaper, or listen to the news, somewhere in there is a nugget of joy. Somewhere in there is a nugget of spiritual awakening that is happening for others or for ourselves. Somewhere in there good exists. Why? Because good exists. That's why. Holmes tells us that if we're only to take the bad, is it not out of the bad that then the next moment will be born? Life is often a bed of roses only when we are willing to pick the thorns out of our flesh and throw them away. Today, you and I have before us a golden opportunity to begin to create a new spiritual practice of living in the now. I'd like to take us through an exercise that will help us do that. I'd like for you to begin to look in front of you and see some object that may be glistening or has light to it. And just focus on it as we become aware of our breath as we inhale and exhale. And just keep looking on that item, that object, if you will. And as we continue to focus on that and we inhale and exhale, slowly close your eyes and allow that image to now become aware of your inner awareness. As we inhale and exhale, and tune into the moment. And in that moment, let that object, the energy of that object, which was external and now internal, be a reminder that there's only the one thing happening. And you're experiencing both the external and the internal as the one because of the power that is within all. And we inhale and exhale and feel the shift that is unfolded. And then remember that that's because the law responds. And so let's declare this new feeling that we're having as peace. the peace of the divine that exists within us. And then let's let that peace and power guide us to the next step, to open to the possibilities of what can be. When we pick the thorns out of our thinking, feel free to open your eyes when you're ready. And to remember that this is a very simple practice that will get us to Carnegie Hall, if you will. Carnegie Hall representing that ultimate state of mind of the ultimate state of mind is what it represents. That during these trying times and most unique times, that it is important to lean on what we know. And if we need to look at the past to do that, it's okay, but not to dwell on the past. But to remember that the principle of life that has worked through us before, that has brought forth greatness and goodness and magnificence, is not bound by precedent. We know that. But to allow the depth of the knowledge that we have to then be the foundation from which we open up to grow, not focusing on the growth that shall unfold, but focusing on the power within that is bringing forth the transformation. To remember that there is a presence within us. Eckhart Tolle says there is this presence that you are without which you couldn't perceive anything. There is this presence that you are without which you couldn't perceive anything. You couldn't perceive this room, and you couldn't feel the body without that consciousness that you essentially are. You couldn't perceive the very thing that you chose to focus on in that exercise. He goes that without this consciousness that you essentially are, which Jesus, by the way, called the light of the world, we all have it. He said to his disciples, "You are the light of the world." And Tolle tells us these disciples were not special people. They were fishermen. So certainly he wasn't telling them that they were VIPs. Now he's saying this tongue-in-cheek and yet not. He wasn't telling them they're VIPs. They were the opposite of VIPs in the social settings of the world. And yet he said, "You are the light of the world." And he also said it about himself, but he also said it about others. And so, as you become aware of that, you suddenly discover that essentially at the most essential level, the essence of who you are is consciousness. But consciousness isn't something you can say, "Oh, there it is." Because consciousness cannot become an object to itself. It's the eternal subject. It is the I am that I am of the Old Testament. When God is asked for his or her name, God says, "I am that I am." And this is the essential identity of all beings. So, when we talk about the present moment, the living in the now, Tolle tells us we talk about different levels of the present moment. From sense perceptions to the feeling of aliveness in the inner body, to the realization that ultimately what we call the present moment and the light of consciousness are one and the same. Because that's the thing that always remains, the present moment and the light of consciousness. And that consciousness, you can sense it as yourself right now as the presence that you are. That is the realization, and that is sometimes called awakening, where you get out of the mental noise, and that is the source, and that is the source place of creativity. That is intelligence. That is non-conceptual. It's primordial intelligence. So it goes on to tell us, I've talked about this in the hope that as I'm speaking, this was a transcript, there is an experience in you of the depths of the present moment. Because the present moment, people think it's present moment is what happens. And of course, because what happens changes all the time, people say there are many present moments. But if you look more deeply, of course, there are not many present moments. There's only ever this present moment. There's only this ever. There's only the space of this moment. I took us on this exercise and shared this with us this morning to remind us of the power that we are imbued with. This power that is indwelled within us, that is the same as the cosmic dust of every element of our universe. And that you and I have the capacity, the potential, the power to open to it and not only use it in a new way, but to share it in a way, to affirm it in a way that must take form. And I wanted us to bring it down into a way today that will be simple for us to remember, to look out, to focus, to breathe, to bring that awareness in, to focus, to breathe, to go deep, to focus, to breathe, and then to know that that which we're focused on and feeling is the power, it's the presence, it's the life force itself. And that is imbued with peace. And so that act of practicing purposeful energy, of bringing our awareness into our being, activates a conscious evolution, a higher thinking of who and what we are. And it stops us from that chatter and gives us a moment, an opportunity to then restart. Eckhart goes on to tell us that being aware of your breath focuses you into the present moment. The key to all inner transformation. Wherever you are conscious, whenever you are conscious of your breath, you're absolutely present. You may also notice that you cannot think in those crazy ways and be aware of your breathing. Conscious breathing stops your mind. And so today, let's choose to be happy and present in each moment and to know that that's enough. That's enough for healing to begin. Dr. Holmes tells us that healing is revealing, the revealing of the oneness of life. And so we're called today to live from the lens of being a mystic, meaning what we see and experience and think of and act upon is the oneness of life itself. And to remember that we're not here to attempt to control everything around us. For when you try to control everything, you enjoy nothing. Sometimes you just need to relax, to breathe, to let go, and to live in the moment. Let's all commit to stopping the wasting of our time. For so often we waste our whole life preparing for the future, not realizing that the only way to be happy is to simply embrace each moment. And so as students of New Thought, our first task is to take dominion over our power. And I say that in a way of not trying to take it over, but to become tuned into it, to allow ourselves to remember that which is within us. And to the best of our ability, fine-tune our thoughts, our emotions, and our actions. And we do that by choosing to calm our being and to then move forward with a greater realization of our spiritual poise, of knowing who we are, but not out of arrogance, knowing who we are, not out of supplication, but knowing who we are through the wisdom and the knowledge and the power that exists within us, waiting to make itself known. As we do that and choose to live in that way, we then can be effective in bringing the highest consciousness of which we're capable of doing to the world, moment by moment by moment. And so today, let's all know together that we're here to let there be peace on earth. And to know that it has begun with me and with you in this moment. And then we just breathe in and exhale, and in this moment. As we then breathe in and exhale in this moment, and know that we are prepared for all that is coming our way, because we're not about what comes at us. We're about what we give to it. Our founding minister, Dr. David Walker, used to say, don't tell your problems in life. Don't tell your God in life how big your problems are. Tell your problems in life how big your God is. Your God is big as you. And let's let it be. And say together, amen. And so it is. Thank you. Andy's going to come back and bless us with a song that's a really fun and upbeat and uplifting song. Andy, what's the title of this song?
It's actually, I Can See Clearly Now, the Rain Is Gone.
All right.
Yeah. All right. I can see clearly now, the rain is gone. I can see all obstacles in my way. Gone are the dark clouds that had me blind. It's gonna be a bright, bright, sunshiny day. Oh yes, I can make it now, the pain is gone. All of the bad feelings have disappeared. Here is that rainbow I've been praying for. It's gonna be a bright, bright, sunshiny day. Look all around, nothing but blue skies. Look straight ahead, nothing but blue skies. Oh. I can see clearly now, the rain is gone. I can see all obstacles in my way. And here is that rainbow I've been praying for. Sing along with me now. It's gonna be a bright, bright, sunshiny day. It's gonna be a bright, bright, sunshiny day. Last time. It's gonna be a bright, bright, sunshiny day.
And yes, it is. I was singing along.
Yay!
And I was snapping my fingers like I had maracas in my hand. So, and hoping that you would have turned on that disco light on your upper right shoulder over there. So, next time, right?
Yep. Next time.
Great. Thank you, Andy. Thank you. I thank you to each one of you for being here today. What a joy it is to have Andy back with us. I know you all agree with me on that. Now is the time in our service to support our community through conscious giving. I'm going to put on the screen the way to do that. You can go to our website, csl-la.org, and click on Donate. You can go to the app in the App Store, Center for Spiritual Living Los Angeles. Click on the upper left bars, and the screen will come up, and you'll see a Donate tab. As well as you can mail in a check. Our address is 1200 North La Brea Avenue, West Hollywood, California, 90038. Or you can call me. My number's on the screen, and I can handle that privately. Please know that all support is deeply appreciated and honored and received. We're a tithing community, so So 10% of all that comes in goes right back out to support our community and places around the world. And so good is being made manifest as we all stay in the flow. As we take a moment to support the community financially, Andy's back on the screen. He's going to take us through our conscious giving song called Love Is My Decision, and I invite us all to sing along.
I would, but I can't. Is the audio on? Can you hear me? You can't. Oh, my screen is doing stuff. My screen is not working. Hang on a second. I'll get some help in any minute now. Can you hear that? It's not working. Okay.
We can hear, Andy.
Oh, thank you. Thank you all. I actually have this final song for you, and one of these days it'll work. Here we go. And it's dedicated to Lenore for bringing it to me. Thank you, Lenore. Love is my decision. It's up to me to give of my heart. Love is my decision. No one else can tell me to start. And once I decide to change my mind, Source will show me how. Love is my decision, my decision, right here and now.
Well, that was definitely worth waiting for.
Thank you.
It was. So thank you. Thank you, Andy, for being here today. It's really wonderful to have you back, and just loved your energy today and love your music. And I know you spent a lot of time preparing for today, and know that that's acknowledged and appreciated. So thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Yeah. And a big thank you to Travis, our audio technician, for being here today to help support us in our service. And he's worked very diligently this week as well. And a big thank you to Robert Hensley, our social media individual, as well as our administrative assistant and our bridge between us and Facebook. So thank you to Robert Hensley. A big thank you to each and every one of you for being here today. We'd like to remind you that we have a couple of things going on. One is this Wednesday night, we continue to have our class for E Squared, a book that are experiments and how to prove to yourself that your thoughts have power. It's been a great class. We extended it from 5 weeks to 6 weeks. We have 2 more classes left. You're welcome to come in for one class if you'd like. It's an interactive class. It was a lot of information last week, and so we're going to have it a little bit lighter this week, but it's a great way to begin to look at this teaching in a different and a more modern way, both with the textbook and then a lot of different curriculum that I am preparing on the back. This week we are looking at using our third eye chakra to open us up to dreams, to tap into the way our conscious mind works. That was a broad statement on that, so it's more than that. But anyway, a lot of fun stuff that we're doing, so feel free to join us. It's 6:30 to 9:30 on Wednesday evenings. You can reach out to me and I can get you the link for that if you'd like that, and or Robert. Also, our Wednesday morning meditation takes place from 8:30 to 9 o'clock. It's a great place to come and tune in to a remembrance of who we are as we navigate each day and each moment. Also, there's a text that goes out each day that's just a reminder at 7:30 every morning to remember the power that we each have, as well as a weekly e-newsletter that goes out first part of the week that tells you what's going on. Next Sunday is the Sunday to spring forward, so that'll be the Sunday that we turn our clocks ahead. So remember to do that, and that's that. Our theme will continue. After the service, if you're on Zoom, we'd like for you to stay on for a moment. We're going to have a brief conversation around an activity that we've talked about doing to get some feedback from all of you. So I hope that you can avail yourself of that. And I think I've covered everything. Feel free to check us out on our social media sites of Facebook and or Instagram, as well as our YouTube channel, as well as our website, csl-la.org, and or you can use our app in the App Store. I think that's it. And so let's close with a meditation and an affirmative prayer. And so let's know together that the infinite power of the divine, the source of all, that which we call God, but we know that it matters not what we call it, for it's present, and its presence within us allows us to know that it's present. And its presence as mind is this power within us that is yearning to express itself in greater and greater form in life. And it does that as we surrender to its nature and engage in a practice of affirmation and alignment. And so we commit to accepting that today has been an experience that has unfolded through us and as us, that has provided to us a new space in mind that we shall define as a remembrance. A remembrance of us knowing who we are, not with the cerebral brain, but with the soul making itself known. And so this doesn't absolve us of being engaged in the world. It's quite the contrary. It brings forth to us a higher responsibility to engage in the world, but to do it from a place of spiritual truth. Still having the capacity and the ability to act, interact, and react with life itself, and to do so with compassion, to do so with givingness, to do so with a higher vibrational frequency of love and light and life. And so we use the energy of the divine that is making itself known as us purposefully. And as we do that, that activates a conscious evolution within ourselves, but we're not bound to our own state of mind. For there's only one mind, so our mind, as it's connected to all aspects of mind, radiates, and through this radiance field, others meet and greet it. And so the dance continues of allowing our divinity to be the force through which we express our humanity, as we commit to letting our humanity be a reflection of our divinity. Now is the moment. And the law responds. And the journey continues. And all is well. And so it is. Thank you all for being here today. Please remember what you're imbued with and who you are as you continue on your journey of finding your personal self-empowerment through a spiritual awakening. Remember that you are the peace and the power and the light and the love of the divine fully expressed. Let's note that for others as we stay present, stay tuned in, stay aware, and in a state of allowance. Make it a magnificent day by being you. And so it is. Goodbye to those of you on Facebook. Have a great week.